join in as they come. Hello, welcome, welcome. So, you know what? It's funny because tonight is one of those topics that scares people. And as I see, like, I know we changed the time tonight, and we changed the date a little bit around, and so people had to change their schedules, and some things have come up, and I totally get that. But I do know that it's something that we have a resistance to. So if we can create an excuse, if we can for some way say, okay, I'll get that one on the replay, because I don't really want to talk about that stuff. And so first of all, thank you for being here, because coming to a talking circle to talk about something that has been painful in the past, or healing from your past, or healing from healing that inner child, it can be scary, and it can be difficult. So before we get started, any reservations that you guys had about tonight's topic? Just kind of, as you probably didn't know too much about what it was or what was going to happen, but like feelings that you had?
Well, for me personally, because of so much that I've gone through for the past 2 years, I remember when I first started going through depression, the one thing that a lot of my counselor would ask me is, well, what did you like to do before? And I couldn't really remember what that was. And it wasn't until I started getting further into therapy that I started really figuring out the fundamental things that I really enjoyed most was from my childhood. And so it was that reconnection with that childhood experience that started making me realize, how can I bring this to my present? So I was actually really excited when I saw the topic.
Awesome. Now, have you guys ever, releasing your inner child there, like I said, it can be scary, going back to, things that we struggled with in the past, things that we struggled with as we were growing up, as we were finding ourselves. Some of those were painful heartbreaks and romances and all of these things that have essentially made us who we are today. But then, like you said, Christy, there's this essence of fun and lightness and airy, just allowing yourself to be silly, to be free, to get in touch with that inner child. And when we are children, it is so pure. It is so pure. So that's really where we want to get back to. And like we were talking about, Christy, earlier, is that idea of having an open heart, opening our heart. Hi, Sipo. Hello. Hi, Terry. Welcome. Hi, ladies. Good to see you. Having an open heart so that these past experiences, these past hurts, these past things that we have been through do not become constricting on us, do not become a heavy load on us. They don't become baggage that we're carrying around. We have this openness, this release. And so this is what we're going to talk about tonight, is a seven-step process to actually releasing these negative emotions that may be associated with our inner child, but also getting in touch with her and reconnecting with her and what her dreams were, what her fears were, and understanding that, and then being able to see. It's really powerful to look back and then to see how far you've come, to see how much you've grown, and to be able to recognize how much value your life experiences have given you as a person. So I want to, today I want to make sure everyone speaks. So this is my goal tonight. Everyone must speak. So if you're here, get ready. And if you don't have a camera, that's okay. You can speak on your microphone, possibly, if you can figure that out. Don't be afraid of technology. Embrace it. The first thing I really wanted to start with is, of course, our smudging and our smudging prayer. Now, I think I posted this in the Facebook group. I did, right? The smudging prayer, into the smoke, I release. So the smudging prayer goes like this. Into the smoke, I release all energies that do not serve me, all negativity that surrounds me, and all fear that limits me. So in my mind, I visualize the smoke of the sage that you can get, or my sister's actually making her own. She's like drying cedar, white cedar and stuff, and it's really cool. She's going through an awesome transition in her life. But yes, so this is there's so many different prayers or things, rituals that you can do. If you have your own, then make it your own. That's totally fine. But for me, I just visualize this smoke taking away all of those negative energies, all of those things that don't serve me, all of that stuff that's bottled me up. And I bathe myself, literally clean myself. So I want you to do that. If you have yours, do it with me. I'll tell you guys. And then say it if you have it in front of you. I think it's in the Facebook group. If not, you can just repeat it after me. Into the smoke, I release all energies that do not serve me. All negativity that surrounds me, and all fear that limits me. And then it just takes it all away. Take it away. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so you can do that every day. Like, seriously, wake up with a smudge. That is what my people believe is the cleansing, more important than a shower. Smoke's getting everywhere. Watch your smoke alarms, okay? We've had that happen on some of our hangouts before. So I want to get right into it, and I want to pass the microphone almost right away. And first of all, I want you to picture yourself as a child, okay? So picture her, and whatever age pops up for you, whatever whatever version of you, when you think of yourself as a child, picture yourself. And I want you to see the way that your hair was. Maybe if you had a class picture you remember from that kind of time, what were you wearing? If you had an event or something that, a moment in your past, really picture that girl. What did she look like? How tall were you? Were you thin? Were you chubbier? Were you freckly? Were you gangly? Were you funny looking? Were you the popular one? I was never the popular one. I always wanted to be. And that's the crazy thing. When I picture myself as a child, I often I remember wanting to look like someone else pretty frequently. And I remember not being happy with what I saw and just wishing that I could, why do I look this way? Why don't I look like those beautiful popular girls that get the boys who like them, or whatever it is that we think in grade 6 or 7. But yeah, I want you to picture her in your mind. And just sit with that for a moment. Take a couple of deep breaths. And visualize her right in front of you, just in the room with you. And when you look back at her, what are some things that you see as her strengths? What are some things that you see as her strengths? So when you look back. When you look back at yourself, what are some things that she was really good at? And on the other hand, what are some areas that she struggled with? So I want you to think about that for a second. As you're looking at her in front of you, you see her hair, or you see her class picture, or out with your friends, or without your friends, or whatever you were doing, whoever was around you. Picture her face, picture her now, and what was something that she was really good at, something she was really skilled at, really amazing at, really gifted, and what was something that she struggled with. So everyone is going to have to answer this question. So I'm just going to pick randomly and start with Aisha. You're lucky number 1. She's like, So when you look back at that younger version of yourself, your inner child, what's something that she was really good at?
I was really good at dancing. I went to dancing school since I was 2, and I stuck with it until high school, then not so much. And then ironically picked it up again in college, well, after I graduated from college. And I started my university's dance team, which grew substantially. So I was always good at dancing.
So what are so you were good at dancing. What are some good, some qualities about yourself that you required to be good at dancing? You know?
The discipline, the pageantry, the smiling through pain. I think that's one of the good and bad things.
Yeah, because I think that could fall into the other side. So what are some things that you struggled with in that time in your life?
Typical middle school awkwardness. I call it the ugly duckling stage, because you're not that cute little kid anymore, and you're everything's growing awkwardly. You know, your nose is a little bit bigger. For me, I was very developed, more so than everyone else in my grades. I started puberty when I was like 9.
Me too. Yeah. Flow in the building.
Yeah. So I had the most traumatic experience in 5th grade. I had a horrible, and ironically, someone posted our class picture on Facebook and tagged everybody.
Did it take you back to that?
Oh, it sent me in rage. Because I hated the teacher, and I hate to use the word hate, but when I think of this woman and being a parent now, she's the epitome of an educator that I would never want for my child, because she was just that evil of a human being. And my mother had written her a letter in confidence to express to her, Aisha had begun her menstrual cycle, so she needs to go to the bathroom more often. And it was like she made it publicly known to like all of the teachers and my classmates. And one time I had to really go to the bathroom. It's so embarrassing now as an adult to say it, but I had to really go to the bathroom. She just refused to allow me to go. And I had an accident on myself in the 5th grade. So I was just mortified. And
that's a pretty vivid memory to have, kind of very traumatizing moment.
Extremely traumatizing. And I just hated her, to this day. If even knock on wood, if she was still alive, I would want to confront her and just tell her how miserable she made.
When we think about that, like that feeling, that anger that we hold on to, and this is something that kind of why we're here, right? Because you're probably never going to see that woman again, and you're never going to have the chance to tell her all the things that she did wrong to you. And even if you did, she might not even remember, or like all of these factors of, I want to do this. This is holding a power over me. This is restricting me in some way. And we actually, as our own grown women now, not those grade 5 girls, we now control that power. We now can say, whether or not you acknowledge what you did to me, I have the ability to release that from my life and to let its grip go. So yeah, that's a really crazy experience though. I've always been lucky with really great teachers, but not so great classmates. But yeah, so thank you for sharing that, Aisha.
No problem. Yeah, no
Now,
classmates weren't peachy there, but
I know, right? Kids are
mean.
So let's go over. I'm going to go to Terry. Terry, when you look back into your inner child and you picture that young girl, what was something that you saw that you were really good at? Can't hear you. There you go.
Here I am. It's good to be here with you women. When you just talked about it in a child, I was just like, this is what came to mind me at this age, and I just went and grabbed the picture. It's like, I don't know, I'm like I'm 6 on the horse. And because I used to ride all the time, and I just felt such a deep love and friendship with my horse. And it was just something I felt really able to do and to connect and to be just in sync. And so, yeah, I just had a confidence from early on with horses, and just, I just rode so much and just spent so much time, like up into my late teens, with horses. So it's not something I think or talk about lots, but as soon as you said that, I just remembered myself as a little kid, really connected with these beautiful animals. Yeah.
I always had a connection with horses too, but I never had the opportunity really. This one time I saved up all my money to go to this horseback riding camp, and I went for a week, and I just fell in love with a horse, and I'll always remember that horse named Ben, and he didn't like anybody but me. And I was just like, oh, he only likes me. It's just that one connection I have with this horse. But it was just a week, so I can only imagine if I owned a horse, or if I was constantly connected on a daily basis, how strong that would grow. So so when did you actually stop doing that? I
went riding the other day on the beach with my mother-in-law, but I hadn't ridden for ages. But yeah, it was when I got back from living in Bolivia, and I just sort of got busy with school and things and stopped.
So even though you had that confidence and you had that connection with horses and animals, what was something that you struggled with in that time?
So what comes to mind is more later, like not little kid like this, but I think around that. It's just fascinating, like hearing you talk, Aisha, as well, because it's like the opposite of my experience, because I didn't get my period until I was 16 and a half. And like I talked about my snake bite last circle, and I always worried that I wasn't going to ever get my period. And all my friends, like my sister who was 2.5 years younger, my cousin who was like 3 years younger, they'd all started bleeding. And I was like jealous. Like it's just like waiting to become a woman and worrying that I would never transition into that and into being a fertile. I was so scared I wasn't ever going to have kids, kind of thing. So yeah, I think around that kind of mid-teens, as all of my friends started getting, just going through that that body shift, I started really struggling with some kind of thing inside myself, a fear that I was never going to be a woman or something like that. It was quite a deep fear, and then it happened. And I got 3 kids. Like it's amazing, but
it's interesting how we categorize it, or how we label what makes us a woman, or what we're taught, what we learn as children. That process, and for sure, like seeing people go through it without you, that creates like a body image, because you've talked a little bit about your body image issues that you had in the past of always kind of being skinny, and you went through that scare and had those health issues. And so being insecure of you didn't have double D's in grade 8 like I did, right? Like, and I'm here crying in the change room saying, oh no, I'm a double D, I'm only 12, but side of like, probably being called all of these names that we can imagine, like and then we get called the other names, right? Like Jazingas or whatever. Like they want to So it's just, it really is interesting to put it in perspective that way, for sure.
I didn't tell you guys last week what I used to get called, and I meant to jump in when we were talking about boobs last week, and my maiden name is Hurwitz, and I used to get called Her Tits in like yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, since you're talking, why don't you didn't really do the visualization because you came in late, but so visualizing yourself as, you know, as a child, whatever, you know, age kind of comes up to you, and thinking of something that you were really good at, that you really excelled at, and then something that you really struggled with. So
well, I was really creative at a young age. So I was always making my own Halloween costumes. So I used to really put huge effort into, I don't know why I keep hearing an echo, huge effort into my own Halloween costumes. And I remember I did Raggedy Ann one year, and I did like a super elaborate like bathing cap with all the yarn glued on. And it was like the bomb. It was like the best costume. I used to put my heart and soul into it. And when I had kids, all my kids wanted was freaking bought costumes year after year. We just like kept buying costumes, and I was like, you sure? Like, we can't work on something creative? And even when they wanted their own, and then yeah, my son actually did start to get a little creative, but I was really, really good at that. And then what was the other part?
What did you struggle with?
Well, I really did struggle with having bigger boobs. Like, and it's interesting because my daughter is pretty, like, she's really following in the same path. She's just a bombshell already at 13. And in fact, talking about body image, because this week she's had some interesting shifts with realizing that she's blossoming into this woman, and that she can't be, you know, shaking her ass around, and that it's not cool. And Phil and I are kind of trying to work this interesting new thing that's coming up, because she told me this new word, and I honestly had never heard it. I understand it now. It's a form of bullying, and it's called slut shaming. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that term. You ever heard that term? Slut shaming. Alicia's heard it. Yeah, a couple of you guys have heard it. It's new to me. It's terrible name. It's a terrible word. And she kind of had that happen to her this week twice, and because she's at a uniform school now. And so she's shifted over to wearing uniform every day, and it's like Spirit Week, so they're doing all these weird outfits. And she wore these shorts that were like riding up her ass, and one of the girls came over and like tugged on him and was kind of like giving her like, well, we know you have a nice butt, Eloise, but, you know, like a little, you know, like get it together. And it really, really shook her. Like it really, like she was totally upset, and her friend had to calm her down, and she was crying, and it was like she was mortified, you know, because she felt like, oh my God, like I was just slut shamed. So now all these memories of when I was growing up and being a young, blossoming, same kind of age, how it's really like you have to dress down almost when you're kind of pretty and have a little more boobs, because you really get attention. And I grew up getting a lot of attention, and I understand what she's going through, and it's like this blessing and a curse. And she kind of blew up the other day. We were driving to the beach, and she was like, can I just vent? And I'm like, okay. And she goes off on how hypocritical society is. So intelligent. She's like, I can't believe how hypocritical society is. You know, they want you to look pretty, and then they give you shit for looking sexy, and there's this, you know, total hypocrisy. We're in this Latin country where like there's kind of this hoochie mama thing, but then it's really and you don't know where the line is. And Phil and I are like, oh my God, the line is like thin, you know, from sexy to slutty. And so that's this thing now. And I'm drawing on my own experiences, you know, dressing like slutty and going to clubs. And Phil and I are like, yeah, the only reason you do that is to like, you know, go home with somebody and land a guy and have, you know, an encounter. And that's what we were doing. And like, she can never know that, but
That's what we were
He
doing.
knows that we were like using fake IDs and going to clubs and
Totally. Okay.
It's interesting how like you have to filter. It's like Phil's always telling me like filter, and I'm like,
I'm glad my kids are too. Like,
you don't want to tell them everything, but yet you want to know the benefit of the struggle. And I'm sorry, but being a pretty girl, the struggle is real, because you really, even traveling, like I was in Italy, I've traveled all over Mexico, I've traveled a lot, and it's really like you get attention. And I mean, I've had some crazy experiences, even with Phil sitting right there, like been, Italian men just like coming out of the woodwork. And it's a really like
I always get the Jamaicans. They always like me. They call me Black Princess. You're the Black Princess. I love that. but yeah, it's true, and it's really interesting that you bring that up, like this topic of being beautiful and growing up beautiful. It's something that I feel like, yes, I definitely developed quickly, but I totally closed it in with doing sports and school and just being a total nerd. And there was no way I showed cleavage in high school or anything like that.
Yeah, like a nerd in a job.
Or like total t-shirts. Like I covered everything up and just hid everything that I was. But then there was those girls, those ones that just totally had it all. And it's like thinking of how they felt, thinking about like her having this struggle of, the world is so hypocritical. Like here they are telling us to be beautiful and all these other people want to look like us, but then we're getting slut shamed and we're getting attacked or we're getting hate because of how we look. And discriminated in different ways because of how they look, when I was getting discriminated in different ways because of how I look. Like it's just it's interesting that it's different, but it's all the same. Different, but
it's a new discussion, like in a new generation, but it is the same conversation. And I said, this has been going on for like over 100 years. I mean, it's nothing new. We have this feminist side of us. We want to be treated equally.
But the shorts are way shorter these days than they have ever been.
Oh yeah, that's
never been that short. I don't remember that. Maybe back from a long time ago.
Well, it's also for this tropical place, and you're in a bathing suit a lot, but then you're getting shit when you're in like you're what's appropriate wear.
You have those bikinis with bum cheeks, those are not appropriate.
That's what she wears. She's like, amazing. Whatever.
I know, I can't get used to those bum cheeks hanging
cheeky
out
butt
over the place. But anyways, okay, let's continue, because my goal tonight is to make sure everyone speaks. Everyone must speak today. So if you're here, you're talking. Okay, I'm gonna go to let me go to Shelly, because Shelly, you've been in and out, and I hope you're not having trouble. So we're talking about our inner child. Maybe she's even frozen right now. Are you frozen, Shelly? No, you're not frozen. I'm unmuting you. Okay, Shelly, I've unmuted you. So we're talking about your inner child and something that you were good at as a child and something that you struggled with as a child.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm having some phone issues. Sorry. Let me try and get back up. Okay. So something that I was good at as a child, I would have to say creativity was something that I really excelled in. And gosh, I don't know. I'm on the spot.
What kind of creative things would you do? Would you paint? Would you write?
I did a lot of poetry and that kind of thing. And that's something I've tried to get back into as an adult. And I have some sort of blockage. I just really, gosh, that's kind of, I don't know why that's such a tough question for me, honestly. Just being a free spirit, I guess, would be one of the biggest things that I really enjoyed, playing and having, creative moments during play and that type of thing. And now that's really difficult for me. Just the pressures of life, I guess, and trying to actually go have fun. And it's, I guess I have a hard time doing for myself because I do so much for other people. And I really related to what Lisa was just saying. because I think that was stifled by the society around me as I was growing up. And, once I became a teenager, it was, oh, you gave me a dirty look, or, oh, you're, a bitch, or, oh, you're this or that. And, or, you're pining after my boyfriend, or, just a lot of accusations of things that I honestly wasn't doing. I was just trying to be a nice person and be friendly to people. And once that started,
always trying to steal the boyfriends. The pretty girls are always trying to steal the boyfriends.
No, and you're just trying to be nice and friendly, and comes across as flirting or whatever. And so I think once I got stomped down a few times after doing that, it became something that I was very guarded with. And of course there was the rumors and horrible junior high and middle school type behavior from girls. And so that's really something that's near and dear to me now. I have 2 sons, and, I always say that God blessed me with boys because I was a challenging teenager. But I would love to be able to mentor teenage girls and just help them keep that creativity and that kindness. And, I've spent a lot of time in my life caring about what other people think, and holding myself back because of that. So
yeah,
that would be
definitely. And I think that what people think of us, or what molds we're supposed to, how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to fit into life, it is all superficial. And when we can get back to that inner core of who we are and what we stand for and what is powerful about ourselves, what of our skills, like so many of you have said that your skills were creativity, but you probably don't make as much time, aside from Lisa, who's got her art shack, and but even then, like, she's probably like, I could make more time for creativity, right? We could all do that. So
I mean, the other thing too, it's not even so much the time, but it's that sort of timing the time with the creative moment, because it doesn't always
definitely like creative moments.
And I know a lot of times, and I know a lot of times, like, I have to get out of here. Like, I got to get out of my space. I have to get in a different place to get some creative inspiration. Yeah. So it's like, it's almost like you can overthink it a lot. And it's a really organic process. And it is hard sometimes to drum up that feeling of creativity. Yeah.
And I think Shelley brings up a really good point of this feeling of happiness and caringness, because she had some negative effects. So did I, in different ways. Putting myself out there, being rejected, being made fun of, not accepted, or in her case, her putting her caring, loving self out there and being, called names, or called a slut, or called a homewrecker, or whatever you get called. Such a impact to how we act in the future, because we have this resistance, we have this weight that is built. So this is all why, it's so important to release these things. It's so important to look back on these experiences that do cause restriction and confinement, and release them so that we can open up for an open heart and allow open love, and our heart is free and released of all these. So let's go over to lucky number Christy. Lucky number Christy. So Christy, when you were looking back at your inner child, or your past self, what was something that you were good at?
Well, I was a tomboy. I lived out in the country area. So like Terry, I had a very, very strong passion for horses, even though I didn't have the opportunity for horses around. I had play horses, statues instead of Barbies. Those were my play figures that I played with. And I just had a real connection with animals. And I really, growing up, always wanted to be a veterinarian. And I had a very strong academic record, and I was very good at memorizing things and listening and pulling all this information in and be able to regurgitate the information. But my weakness was I didn't develop a good reading skill. So when I got to high school, all through up to middle school, I could listen to a class and be able to ace the test because of what I listened to in class. And then when I took the test, half of it was from the stuff that was in the book that we didn't even talk about in class. So I was getting not as great grades anymore. So I started questioning, is this what I want to do? And I started changing my direction, and I feel that I started to gear away from that creativity. I played the clarinet when I was very good at playing the clarinet, and I quit playing the clarinet. So a lot like everybody's talking here of those memories from my childhood, the good memories that I had of being able to be free and be myself usually involve some kind of artistic or nature connection. And as I started getting older, I didn't see as many opportunities where I could still do those things and be accepted. My other weakness was I'm shy. I am not good with interacting with people. So that acceptance piece kept getting smaller and smaller. And that's a big, big piece right now that I'm trying to rebuild on.
Yeah. And it's important to identify it and to recognize it in our own self. Like, I can tell you that having nature connections is important in your life. I can tell you that it's important to have a sitting spot to go to speak to the trees. I can tell you all this stuff. But when you really go back and you think about those happy moments when you're a child of climbing a tree and, rolling down a hill and not worrying if you're going to get hurt, but just rolling and just having so much fun. Like, these are things that you're like, hey, wait a second. Yeah. All of my best memories are outside. So why am I not outside more? Why am I not making time for this in my life more? And it's important to have those own recognition moments, as I'm stressing. So before we get into it, because everybody's here on camera and I can see your faces clearly, why don't we take a really smiley selfie because we are happy? Cheese. That's what all my kids say. Cheese. They know. It's cheese time, they're like selfie kings. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Got you. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep it moving. Betty Jean, how are you doing, my dear? Oh, you're muted. 1 second. There you go.
All right. Hey, I'm very glad to be here and beyond 2 planes later.
She's a whirlwind traveler, that one, the traveling nurse for sure. So where are you right now? Are you home or are you out?
No, I'm in North Caribou Lake, which is north of Thunder Bay. So I get to travel a lot, but I'm not on the beaches of the world. I'm in the bush. The bush of the world.
She's in the bush, way down the bush.
Country, but done differently. Those are the pipes. So if you hear running water, it's the toilet from upstairs running down that pipe, running down there and running out. That's the way things work in the north a bit. When this house was built, whenever 30 years ago, there was no plumbing. So this is all an afterthought, that kind of thing, because I'm in a First Nation community way north, and that's the way it is. So
we're glad that you made it here, because sometimes your Wi-Fi can be dodgy up in that northern, those rural places.
If I was where I was this morning, which was in Fort Hope, I would not have been on, because that there's no internet. Well, it has internet, but it doesn't anyway. And I barely got out, but I did make it out, and I made it here. So that's great. And thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah. So share with us, when you're looking back at your inner child, what is something that you saw as her strength? What was something she was good at?
Well, the first thing that I thought about it that comes to me is that I've always been able to make people laugh and generally be funny and make them feel good and be an entertainer. I was the youngest of 4 girls, so you had to develop something different because they were all pretty talented. I heard the whole beauty thing come out. They were all very beautiful. My oldest sister was a runner-up in Miss Canada. we were all very athletic. We were all very competitive. So to find your mark and your place in life, you had to kind of be extreme and do things. And so I became a clown at a young age and learned how to get my attention that way in the family unit. And it actually carried on for me as well as sports. But, you know, when I think about it, my ability to make people laugh and smile is there. Although when you're down, it's hard to do that. Although, as you hear from Robin Williams sometimes in that whole thing, sometimes the people that are the most down are the ones that are making other people laugh the most because of things going on. So all that came to crash in the last year in my life. So I've really had that other turn and dipsy dive in my life. But the ability to look at that and sometimes share that openly, I've done it privately, but not yet on Facebook too much because, as you've seen, I've been absent. I've just shut down. I going through the pain. I couldn't talk and say I was happy when I wasn't happy. I didn't know how to do all that. But I think things have changed in my life. Christy and I talked a bit about it on a couple of our sessions. And so as of December 1st, I have new tenants in my home and stuff like that. And that's good. So the sports, and then the struggle as a youngster and a child, my inner child growing up was the same, being the youngest of four and finding your individuality, right, amongst, people that had talent and all of those kinds of things. I needed to find out who I was. And I actually feel very good in that place in my life right now because of those struggles. I think I did find who I was and use it to my advantage based on what my sisters kind of say to me now, and I'm the youngest of them. Being good looking has its detriments, right? I hated the cat calls growing up. And, the Italians, I don't want to be, too judgmental here, but, in Toronto, like they always were whistling and cat calling. And I learned how to say va fangola, which is, fuck off. Because it drove me crazy. I didn't want to be wanted for my body. I wanted to be wanted for my mind. Little did I know that you kind of need both, because now I got a mind but not a body. And people, especially for women in the double standard, you see, young petite women, or not young, but petite women with big men, but you often don't see, little men with big women like you do sometimes. In Jamaica, they love big women, so I like Jamaica.
Yeah, me too.
What did I say, Layla? It's like a mama, eh?
Black princess. That's what they call it. The black princess. Yeah, that's an interesting, really interesting perspective that you can share, having lived both sides and see, you can look back at some of the things maybe you took for granted or that you didn't appreciate or, that didn't actually matter. Coming back to it, like, did it actually change who you were? Not really. You are who you are, and you're more of who you are than you've ever been, right? So it's an interesting process. It's an interesting journey. Life is totally like that. But I'm really glad that you've got some new transitions happening, and we've got some awesome transitions happening as well. To let you guys know, I was just on a hangout beforehand with some of our coaches and talking about bringing in our first workshop within the Elite membership. So our first 4-week intensive, which is going to be 2 weeks in 2016 and 2 weeks in 2017. So it's really going to be a whole kickstart into 2017 and really propelling you for this year, because I have this gut feeling that things for you are about to shift. Things for you are about to grow and exponentially in your life. And, you want to set yourself up the best possible. You want to really launch this year and start it beforehand, not wait till January 1st till, okay, this is when I'm really going to get set. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to come at the perfect time for you, Betty Jean.
And to share with Lisa, Betty Jean, why you often see me write the whole name. What does BJ stand for?
I love BJ though. I like calling you BJ. I think it's cute.
That's okay. I can do that now because at 63, it doesn't have the same ring. But when you were a teenager, BJ, I got it all the time, to the point where I could say, some guy would say, and what does BJ stand for? And I go, blow job, and I give the best. Away, right? You know, just like shock them kind of thing. Whatever.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, yeah, that's true. And it was interesting because when I first met Betty Jean, I called her Betty because I didn't know. And she's like, well, actually, I like to be called Betty Jean or BJ. And I'm like, BJ, I like BJ. I think it's fun. But then I thought, I'm like, I wonder if that was something that, growing up, you would have to deal with. And for sure, people just, I think all of us have something with our name that's like, we don't like, or we have moments, but coming to a love of who we are and, our name is, it's fluid for me. Everything in life can change what it means. So let's keep going. Joan, how are you doing? How you doing there, girl? She's always the first to show up, so I got to give her shout outs because I know she's going to be in the room first. As soon as I open it, Joan's here. Love you, Joan. You're rocking your video challenge
I'm always
too.
early. I can't help myself. I don't know. Maybe that's a good trait. I don't know.
So
I'm sitting here. I'm listening to all you ladies, and all I can't even remember, I look back on my life. I mean, I moved around a lot. So for me, I was very, very, very shy. Always quiet. And when you're quiet and shy, people always think you're a bitch for whatever. I don't know. And but going through school, I went to, several different schools. I went to like 4 different high schools. So I know my dad was not in the military. He was in sales. But, I was listening to Lisa talk about her daughter, and it's so funny because when I look at myself and I think about how much I've grown just in my life, I can't think of anything really, really significant when I was younger. The only thing I can think of is that I was just very shy and quiet. And that, yes, girls, especially in middle school and high school, can be really, really, really mean. So I didn't, I wasn't popular. I didn't hang out with the popular crowd. I didn't hang out with all the, I was very in those crowd of just, small, because I moved around so many times. And so I didn't have a group of friends that I could, that I went. So I swore, sorry, my neighbor, but I swore that my kids would never go through that. I swore that my kids would never, they would always have the same friends from the time they entered school all the way through high school. And, but like I said, with Lisa, I was listening to her about my daughter. My daughter's going to be 26 in February. And everything that I did when I was a teenager, that's just like as far as back as I can remember. I don't remember being a child. I mean, I know I was, but I don't remember. I remember going through school and being very shy and very quiet. I didn't hang out with a lot of the, popular, but as I aged and got older, and after I had my own kids is where I really started to come out of myself, and I really started to be more confident. And as my mother would say, I was awful. I was awful. I was such a little witch. And my mother would say to me, I hope someday you have a daughter just like you. And I did. And worse. And she was 10 times worse. I mean, I was lucky that she had, same friends all the way, and she was in the popular crowd. She didn't have, those people that made fun. She didn't go through the bullying, that is it's so awful now. And my son, he's 21, and he didn't have that. But my daughter, her mother's daughter, it's scary because I look at her and I see myself in her, and in spite of all the stuff that I wish I would have had gone through, you know, in my life as a teenager, she got to do all these things, and she's beautiful. My daughter, you should go check her out on my page. She's just beautiful. And I'm very, very lucky, you know, that she turned out smart and just beautiful. I don't know. But for me, I don't know. I can't. Good things about myself is that I can think of, as I was listening to all you ladies, I'm like, oh my God, and this is so new for me. Like just coming out and talking like this.
It is interesting though, Joan, that you don't remember a lot of your childhood, or like
I don't.
You just really don't have the memory there, or you just haven't taken time. Like the thing is that our memories are there. It's just really taking that time to connect and think back and reflect.
I've never done this. Like this is my first time ever being that around, you know, in a group of women like this.
Who are talking about this stuff.
Talking about this stuff. I never even talked to a psychiatrist about this stuff. You know, and I've always like dealt with things on my own. You know, I've always tried to, you know, find that faith, and I've always, you know, had to kind of get me through, and, you know,
well, that's one thing that I know I've heard you say before, and I've heard come up before, is this connection that you have with Women's Connection, how you've never had that before, and you know, you've never experienced it or felt it. And I think that's something that's one of your negative emotions that, you know, you really had to release of, you know, okay, can I open up to women? Can I talk about this stuff that's challenging? And asking yourself, you know, am I able to? Yes, I can actually. And I can connect with these women. And even though I never have before, even though I'm not that type of person, or that's not who I am, I can actually choose to be that. And I can choose to share and express. And you have been making that choice. And I think that you've been, you know, just how do you feel after communicating and expressing and talking?
Well, you know, like I said, I'm listening to everyone, and I'm like, you know, I am very open. I mean, I'm 53 years old, and you think by this time, you know, I should be able to talk, and I should be able to just be open and free, and I am. And I raise my kids that way, to always be open, you know, and to always, you know, to not let other people get to them, and to always stand up for themselves. I raised them that way. So I guess I did something right, and I knew something deep inside of me that no one was going to ever take advantage. And so, yeah, I mean, when I found this group, and like I said, Denise is the one that, you know, told me about you guys. And I was just like, oh my God, I need this so much in my life right now. My kids are like I said, I have nobody here. Boyfriend works nights, you know, I'm by myself. So my dad always said to me, once your kids move out, what's staring at you back in that mirror is what you have to deal with. So you have to be happy with what's looking back at you. And for me, I guess you could say my best thing I ever did was exercise. You know, I always took care of myself. By the time I was 16, yeah, I mean, I can remember back to 16, 15, exercise was my thing. I exercise. If you look at that, you know, if I think back and my kids were little, I was running around. I was so skinny and I was so thin. I was running around. And now that I'm older and gone through the change and the menopause, and I've gained weight, and I'm like, no, this is not right. So I've had some, you know, with the video challenge, I've had to think in my head too, is just things that I've had to deal with over the years. That is something I've just come to this point that, you know what, this is me, and this is who I am, and having this group and being free to be that way, and having this community to just share and feel good and release it all. You can't probably tell because I'm always looking like I'm frowning, but
no, I can definitely tell. Joan.
I always look mean, and my dad's that way. I look like my dad, and he never like smiles, but he's happy. You can never tell, but I'm happy.
I'm a chronic frowner too, and I've got like the line happening to prove it, and my mom has the line too, and my mom's is obviously more deep than mine, and I notice it, and I'm like, okay, Layla, stop with the frowning. And I just do, sometimes I do like a quick face check of like, okay, relax your face, everything relax. Like you're all tense and scrunched, and you're not even doing anything that important. Just relax. So yeah, I totally know the grumpy face look, but
it's all in your mindset.
I do feel the shift.
It's all in your mind and what you tell yourself. And that's the big thing too, is I'm learning, and just in myself in this last, probably I would say the last year and a half, just, in my listening to myself and telling myself things, and the negativity and things like that is like, oh my, and just turning everything over and being more positive. I love listening to you, Layla. I think you're like the most inspiring, motivating person ever since I can remember.
Oh my gosh, if you had seen me like covered under the duvet, like throwing my phone at Toby, I'm like, answer my messages for me. I can't. I'm like, no one thinks I'm inspiring right now. No one is motivated by me right now. But I'm just being a sucky baby. I was just having I think I had to go through like a couple of days of like really just.
It's okay to be that way.
I'm also in shock as well. A little bit of shock. Well,
I couldn't do it. I've always said God blessed me with 2 kids, but I do part, and that's all I could take.
Well,
I couldn't do it.
4 years apart, I think there's advantages though, and I'm already seeing the advantages of like how close Hendrix and B are, and how much they love each other, and just how close these three amigos are going to be. I'm focused on that. I'm focused on the good, for sure. Focus on the positive, right, Joan? So, but while I say that, one of the areas that I noticed that you skimmed over quite a few times throughout everything you were saying was the things that you struggled with. And, you kept going back to, well, what I was good at. And you kept going back to there, but you didn't want to go back to where you struggled with. And that's kind of where, I want you to spend a little bit of time, even just on your own. Like, what are some of the things that I struggled with being, being skinny, being a pretty girl, being athletic, and all the different things, sort of.
Being shy is the biggest thing that comes to my head is just being shy, is not being able to
not connecting,
and not being able to speak up for myself and saying my words. And even now I have that issue. Even now I have that problem. If somebody says something and I don't agree with it, I don't voice my opinion like I should. And so that is right now at 53, you think, come on, girl. I can, you can state your opinion. You can say what's on your mind, but you also have to be nice about it. But that's where I struggle, is I don't know. I don't like confrontation. That's like my biggest thing. I don't like confrontation. I don't like fights. I don't like arguments. I try my kid's dad. We were married 15 years. We never fought. Never fought. Everything was inside. Everything, never fought. We're divorced now. I wonder why, but
Yeah, right. It's definitely all about communication. So, well, we're glad that you're here, Joan, and we're glad.
Thank you. I feel really good. I'm in a really good place here, and I'm really glad. That's probably why I'm here early, because I'm like so excited. I can't wait to make sure everything's done. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to go. This is my group,
I love it. Well, we're glad that you're here. So let me keep going over to Angel. Angel, you're next up on my hit list. Something, looking back at your inner child, going back.
That way, but it's the same type of situation, I guess, having a live conversation.
Oh, I think she's Pastor Jackie. You got something going on in the background there. Anyways, keep going, Angel. So yeah, looking back at your inner child, something that you were good at, your strengths.
The one that I saw is when I was in elementary. It's grade 3 to grade 4, and I'm always strong academically, always part of the top 3 to top 5, and very good at memorization, poetry, writing role play scripts, and public speaking, actually. Always one of those jokers. But being the eldest of 5, I was forced to grow up as an adult. at a very early age. So I never really had any memories, fun memories of being a child playing. I remember those memories where I climbed trees with my cousins who are all boys. So I was boyish or tomboy also at that time. And I don't play with girls or dolls or any of those. I play with guns. My dad has guns, and that's what I'm interested with in learning. I learned to shoot guns at grade 3 at the time, so I can carry guns and shoot guns, and I dressed up like a guy, a boy. And
Okay, so hold up a second. Totally would never have suspected that. That just threw me like totally out of left field. I was like, what? Angel? Like Angel is like certified in her gun when she's in grade 3. That mental picture was just funny. I had to point it out. But yeah, so yeah, definitely not a typical women's connection.
no, because well, that was before. You would see like changes. I think I should put together pictures before and after I ended up connecting with the female side of myself. Back then, I don't know anything about makeup or lipstick or just dressing up like a girl. It's always jeans, shorts, loose shirts, hats, like baseball hats and backpacks. No purses, none of those things, or high heels, none of those. The challenge I had really is body image, which is it's kind of weird because I'm very good at public speaking and all these other things. But then when it comes to body image, I was always called malnourished, and because I was very skinny, so I was called malnourished and a bamboo stick. Like they will always say, I can just pick you up and use you to hit somebody because I'm like a bamboo stick. So that's what I struggled with. And I guess connecting with that child that's able to play, that playfulness, I never had that until I started embarking with this personal development journey. So that's it.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. We've talked about that. I think it was on one of your Facebook lives where you talked about, having fun and the play of your inner child.
Yep.
Yeah. So interesting of, how something like that, even that you think, okay, well, somebody's either too fat or too skinny or too ugly or too beautiful. We all have the same things, but why does that affect us so much? Why does it cause such rippling effects in our lives? Like why? It's not so much how we looked or the specific problem that we were dealing with, whether it was boobs or legs or butt cheeks or whatever. It's the actual act of, we are not good enough. We, as we are not good enough. So this identity, this idea of fitting into a specific mold, as we are, there's something flawed about us. As we are, there's something we could change. There's something that could be better. And I think that is pretty congruent in all of our experiences as young women growing up. So it's definitely something that we have to recognize as we raise young women and young men, this idea of, really getting in touch with who they are instead of measuring who they are on all of these different scales, and teaching them maybe new scales to measure how they are, measure who they are, and identify with who they are rather than these scales that we're taught in society. So let's keep going. Let's go over to Sipo. Sipo, how are you doing tonight? Let me unmute you. You're on mute.
Okay, good. And how are you? How is everyone?
We are awesome. So share with us your experiences. What were you thinking when you visualized your inner child? What was something that she was good at?
I'll just try and explain. I was born in a family. My dad was older when I was born. So I was like a very loved child, treated as a princess. I went to school and I was very good at school and I was loved by the teachers. But my main issue was I couldn't connect with my other friends. It was difficult for me to make friends. I could make one or two friends and I would communicate with those. But the rest of the other people, even if they tried, or even if I tried, I couldn't socialize that well. And I grew up with that. And even when I was grown up, I had a difficult time to connecting with other people. And even now, sometimes I still have that problem.
So do you think that it comes from like communication of actually speaking? Is that where the fear starts of speaking out loud? Are you usually silent?
I was thinking maybe because of the way when I was younger, when I was brought up, I just knew that I was treated as a princess. And then when I went out, I started feeling the rejection from other people, and I didn't know how to deal with that.
Right.
So
there was all this amazing, you are the most beautiful princess in the world, and you know,
yeah.
then reality of the real world, and they say you're no princess, you know.
Right.
You know, who do you think you are? You know, Princess Sipo over here. Yeah, for sure, and that causes you to retreat and
right. Yeah.
and not to form those connections. So I can totally relate to that as well. I think that it's very echoing of a lot of people's experiences here. Let me, who hasn't spoken? Erin, you know I'm coming to you. She's like, save the best for last. Okay, let me unmute you. There you go.
Thanks. I didn't realize we were doing this, or I would have gotten a hold of a leader before. A little bit about my upbringing. I'm the oldest. I'm the only child, but I'm the oldest cousin out of like 3 of us that were all very close. But we grew up in very dysfunctional homes. My father was an alcoholic, and he quit drinking when I was 5. But he didn't get really with a program or with life until I was like 15. And one of the things that came out of my mouth when I was 15 was, "Who do you think you are, my father?" And so I've always, because, you know, for those of you that are an only child, you understand this, is you identify much more with adults than you did as you know, your sibling, you know, your kids around school. And so a lot of the issues I had, you know, making friends and trust, I was better off with the guys, and I was a tomboy too. Riding dirt bikes and riding motorcycles and stuff like that was more my speed. And I want to say this, but it's not a true statement. I had kind of a learning disability. They classified it that way, as you had a learning disability, but because I wouldn't read out loud, and when we actually, and they sent me to reading labs. You know, everybody went to the library. Well, Erin had to go to a special ed reading lab. And they found out that I actually read faster than anybody else, and I had a higher comprehension than anybody else. You know, you're in 4th grade and I'm reading at a 6th grade level. And I had a really hard time. I was really smart, and I could, you know, I understood, I could read and write, and wasn't that great in math and all that. But when it came to test taking, I just blew it. So everybody, you know, my teachers thought I wasn't that great. When they slam in 40 kids in a classroom, they can't figure that stuff out. And, you know, so it was really weird. And I really hated, you know, junior high and high school. I actually went from a Catholic school. I got in there like in 6th grade. And we were, you know, there was only 2 girls. I was the 2nd girl in my class. And I was a total tomboy and she wasn't. And I came from California, and I was kind of the valley girl. Hey, what's up, bitchin'? Totally cool. And I was the surfer girl coming in with bleach blonde hair, and I was instantly hated because of how I looked. And when I finally got into a public school, everybody said, I tell people the only reason I went to Catholic school is to learn how to fight. Yeah. When you're on a basketball court and the girls on the same team start throwing down, it's bad. But it was just crazy, and I was the tomboy, and I was athletic, and I went to public school, and I had some good friends, and actually we ended up going to 2 separate high schools, and I wanted to go out for cheerleading, and my mom goes, no. Okay. So I, was kind of like, okay, well, now what do I do? And I tested in advanced placement classes. So everybody I was friends with was like, oh, aren't you this naughty little bitch, she's a smart little girl and pretty. And I always thought, okay, I got this mousy, crappy brown hair. It never does anything, and I'm not really that smart, and I'm not pretty, and I got into drama, and I felt really comfortable there because you could be somebody else, and I got to do a lot of modeling and stuff, and I love that because you could really dress up and be somebody else for this time, because I just hated being me. But now I've been able, wonders of Facebook, finding out that I intimidated the living crap out of these girls and guys for the same thing. And I'm just like, really? Why?
You know what?
But I didn't.
I could totally picture you as like one of those girls that didn't like me at school, or I was so afraid of at school, and I wouldn't talk to you, or I have a girl in my head, and her name's Alicia, and she made my life hell. Like she just picked me as this little bug that she wanted to squish all the time, every day. It made her feel good, and I could totally. But then thinking about and it's actually
so opposite of that.
In the exercise I'm going to show you, it's interesting to put yourself into that perspective of the people that maybe saw you that way, or the people that were intimidated by you in those situations. And me, in my case, putting myself in her shoes of, well, I'm sure she's dealing with a lot of those things that you're talking about right now, a lot of those struggles that you're talking about, of, hating herself. But really, I'm thinking, she's the coolest person, and if I could just be like her, then my life would be way better if I was her. So yeah, interesting perspective there. So you would say,
and that's really interesting, because that's how I was. I had a rival that all she wanted to do was squish me like a bug, and I just wanted to be liked. And, I had people that made my high school existence living hell. And, I for some reason, I was dating a man that well, I'm sure he still is, or he's dead, one of the two, is a cocaine addict. And I went to a family counselor, and I said, oh my God, what do I do? How do I handle this? No matter what we do, we fight. And no matter what I do, it's not right. And it brought up all this, excuse the language, but shit from childhood. No matter, I was never good enough. No matter what I did, it wasn't right. And she goes, oh, good God, girl, I can't help you. She goes, you need to go to, it's a 12-step group, and it's called Codependence Anonymous. Somebody else knows that.
You did a full program there, girl.
Yeah, and I've done the whole program. I'm working on my 13th step, for those of you that get that joke. And I've actually brought this tonight, and it's affirmations of the inner child. So there's just some really interesting readings. And today's reading it's on spirituality.
Yes, please share with us.
Yeah, I'm not religious. I'm more spiritual. So please take this however the word God fits into your life, whether it be a chair, the universe, a spirit, whatever. But it's embracing the idea of a loving God. For a lot of us, we either got it crammed down our throat or whatever.
Or a judgmental God, right?
Right. Yeah, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
But it said that at times I find it difficult to embrace the notion of a God who loves me unconditionally. I know that an integral part of recovery is the development of a healthy spiritual base. Even now, I'm aware of an ever-present doubt that lurks in my soul. How could God love a mistake? How could such a precious child be so viciously punished? Growing up in a dysfunctional family left me spiritually bankrupt. Unfortunately, I filled this void with just destructive ideas based on the perceptions of a frightened child. When I made mistakes, my parents punished me by saying I was bad, that God would punish me. No wonder thoughts of a higher power provide so little comfort now. Today I will cradle my frightened inner child in my lap, and I will speak about ideas of faith, expectations of good, and the realization of plenty.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is very awakening to hold and embrace your inner child, and to go back to those moments of pain, or just feeling alone, feeling disconnected. Like, you may say, well, I didn't really have that much, I didn't really have that big of struggles. But even the fact of not being able to connect, not feeling that connection, it causes a void. And how you fill that void, that is the effects. That is what you were struggling with. That is what the pain and where it was created. So interesting that you had that book there right at this exact time.
Well, and that's one thing I wanted to share with everybody is, we've worked on meditations. And one of the meditations I've learned is when you are feeling alone, or you're feeling hurt or lost or whatever, whether it be some sort of struggle or pain that you're dealing with now, that usually means that it's your inner child rearing her ugly head, so to speak, ugly head. But now that would be your perfect time to meditate and take that child in your lap at whatever age you're feeling, and cradle her and tell her she's the precious child of God, or the precious child of you, and that you're there and you will take care of her and you will never let anything happen to her. So good exercises.
Yeah, for sure. That unconditional love. And I think that that's something that often resurfaces, especially within this community, that feeling of not having that in our lives, and that void of not having someone to show us that unconditional love, but understanding and coming to the realization as you participate in these sessions and as you participate in our workshops and our boot camps, this acceptance that you can create that. You in yourself can create that acceptance, that love. And you don't, even though it does feel so amazingly awesome to surround yourself with unconditional love of these amazing women and all of the vibes and the energy and the juice, we can create an environment of unconditional love in our own lives. And it's something that we do have to put effort towards. So who didn't speak yet? Pastor Jackie, I know you kind of jumped on late, but I would love to hear from you, because it's something that I love to get different perspectives from different experiences and walks of life. And, I know that you've had an interesting childhood. So when you look back at your inner child and you think of, yourself as a child, what was something that you were good at? I've got you muted. There you go.
Okay. What was I good at? I I was good at, I was responsible. So as I was growing up, even in my teenage years, I was always the one that the other parents would make responsible. If we were going out, I was the driver. I was to make sure everybody got back safely, that kind of thing. So I was very responsible growing up as a teenager.
And so on the opposite hand, what was something that you struggled with?
I struggled with being a redhead and having freckles. I was teased a lot. I was called, Carrot Top and all of that. And so that was a struggle for me, to be redhead and freckles. And then as I got a little older, I struggled with weight, which I still struggle with. So I'm still working on that.
Right.
The redhead and the freckles I got over, because being a redhead now is kind of in.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because, like I said, whether it's red hair, freckles, big boobs, no boobs, whatever it is, we have these molds that we're just not good enough as we are, and this idea that we have to change. So really, really powerful. I think we have one amazing woman there left, Alicia, to come out and share. So Alicia, when you look back at your inner child and you look back at her, what was something that she was good at, something that she excelled in?
Oh, Layla, I love you. I'm amazing at everything. I was good at the piano. I was good at singing. I was good at jumping. I was good at whatever you call it. I was good at it all. So I had this talk with Candace this week, and this was something I really struggled with, because that 14 years of marriage I've blocked out, I've deleted in my life, my memory. And so going back before that is really tough for me. And she's like, you need to have your own session remembering that inner child. And so I don't remember much. And so I'm going back and with my daughter and finding how is she reacting to some things, and does that trigger any memories from what I had when I was a child? And I'm struggling with remembering things, and seeing, what she was good at or something. I'm struggling with remembering that. And I don't know what's going to trigger some of that. Maybe my mom, I'm trying to work on that relationship with my mom a little bit, and her birthday's tomorrow. So just a little bit of things that she brings up, I try to remember, but I struggled with the relationship with my mom. So I think that might be part of it, of why I don't remember some things, because she'll just trigger some things and I just shut off. I don't remember. So I go back and say, well, I was good at playing the piano, I was good at dancing, and I was good at, I got a lot of little medals when I was in choir. And I just try to focus on those good parts of my life and not remember those mom fights or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm not in the right room, because I feel like, oh, I had a perfect life, right? My parents took care of me, they love me. So why am I struggling right now? I don't know. So it's an interesting outlook, I guess. I'm sorry I had the perfect life growing up. My parents really did take care of me, and I was not the popular girl, although I felt like I fit in with everyone. I was on the dance team for a couple years in high school, and I was on the choir, so people knew me. I was not the nerdy girl or whatever in the band club or something, but I don't know.
Right. And it's interesting that you can also come from that perspective of, actually I wasn't raised by an alcoholic. I wasn't molested as a child. People didn't beat me up in the park after school. I had all pretty good grades, pretty good teacher, nobody that really, that I super hated. My life was pretty okay. And then you see all of it's like, but then what happened? Or like, where did it go wrong? Or now I'm not everything that I was supposed to be, or that my life didn't turn out as perfectly as it was expected all along those perfect years. Right. And coming to that realization of, okay, this is just different. This isn't wrong. This isn't, I didn't really make, we say we make mistakes, but we didn't really make a mistake. We had to go through that. We had to go through that challenge. And I think that even though you may look at your, your childhood as pretty okay, and, you were good at it all. You got the medals to prove it. You got parents who love you, and you never went hungry, and you always had a really great cooked meal, and you got tucked in at night. So now after you're struggling with your marriage and moving past that, and like you said, that process of shutting it out though, and not even being present when struggles are happening, just turning it off, so that, and kind of maybe identifying some moments in your life when you've continued that pattern. Can you see that?
Yeah, I think that's why I shut off, and I don't want to be aware of it. There's no solution in it. And that's what frustrates me. I was like, surely there's something I can do about this. And I think that's where I, always focus on. But sometimes there's not a solution to it, and just time has to wait it out. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes the solution, not just time, because time, hidden time, when you just hide it's not really productive time. But when it's time of healing and experiencing and expressing and exploring and reflecting, that's time that, we can grow from and heal from. So that's actually where we're going to finish off here tonight. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys to show you, as we were talking, I wanted to share with you a process. And this is a process that, let me pull it up here. This is a process that I've done for a long time. And, I feel like I've had many moments in my childhood that I can look back on that I struggled with. I was bullied, and I switched schools too, and I can totally see the moments I switched schools where a lot of my issues started to happen with socially, and not fitting in and not feeling good about who I was, because of this switch that I had in location and friends. And so realizing, okay, first of all, I want to do everything I can to avoid something like that from happening with my kids. But then I got, when I got into high school, nobody's going to beat me up anymore because I'm pretty freaking strong. Right. So, I grew up, and I just got into sports, and I just buried my head into sports in school, and I didn't have any friends. And, that was my life. But I can think of key moments, like my struggle with the scale. So when I started high school, I was a wrestler. And in wrestling, every tournament, I would have to drop at least 15 to 20 pounds every time. And I would do it the most unhealthy ways. I would leave it to like the last week, and I would run with garbage bags. I would be doing jumping jacks in the sauna, all these crazy, starving myself. I called it the gum diet for the last 2 days, where you just chewed gum. That was it. No water. I spit in a cup all day long. And so I had all of these negative associations. And going back, I did this exercise with that I'm going to share with you. And I went back to an experience, because you have to do it over and over again. And there's, like I said, our goal here is to open our hearts, is to let go of the restrictions, the baggage, the weight that we accept into there because of these experiences. So every time going back to a different experience. So I went back to this experience of cutting weight, and just when I didn't hit my weight, when I didn't make my weight for my tournament, and I had to wrestle above, and just going through this, but understanding that you will have to repeat it. It's like a rinse and repeat kind of process. So here's the 7 steps, and you're going to do the last 2 steps with your accountability group. So if you are in an accountability group, let me get this up here. If you, if you are in an accountability group with the elite membership, then this is something you guys are going to be doing together, number 6 and number 7. But the rest of it you do on your own. So I want you to think of whatever the negative emotion is. If you're struggling with it right now, then think of it right now. But I really want you to go back as far as you can remember feeling that emotion, or as far back as you can remember it stemming from. And with your eyes closed, recalling that emotional experience. So I know that my issues with weight really were amplified by this pressure of being a certain weight class, and having to not being a worthy athlete if I didn't hit it. Sorry. So with your eyes closed, recall the emotional experience, and really as vividly as you can picture sounds in your that you would hear around you, things that you would see, people that were there, people that were in the experience when you had this negative emotion, when you felt this negative emotion. See it clearly and vividly. So step right into it. Close your eyes and see yourself doing it. Number 2, feel the body. So when you feel that negative emotion of shame, or a lack of connection, or feeling alone, any of these negative emotions, sadness, jealousy, feel it in your body, and notice when you take some deep breaths just where you feel constricted. A lot of times it'll be right here, and you'll feel like a tightness, but sometimes it can even be like it can trigger a headache. Like stepping into that moment, stepping into that experience, stepping right into that timeline can trigger these emotional responses in your body. So it's really important for us to connect our body to this process, because we want it to be a full experience, right? So number 2, feel it in your body. So just noticing what feelings are starting to create when you feel those emotions, when you feel those negative emotions, when you step into that moment, where do you feel it in your body? Number 3, label it. So this is where we give it a name. This is where we say, okay, I am actually feeling bad about this because of this. This is what it is, giving it a name, whether it's anger, rage, sadness, jealousy, envy, anxiety, fear, resentment, rejection, shame. Give it a name, identify it as a negative emotion that you want to release. And then number 4, express. So this is where you put pen to paper. And yes, you could type it out in a Word document and print it out. Yeah, you could do that. But for me, there's this powerful energy that happens throughout history, really, when you think of people putting ink to paper, forming words and structuring sentences and paragraphs with your hands. And that brain process of thought to hand to paper. So express the experience. And I want you to do it first, just write it out. Write out in detail what happened. What was this moment? When did this negative emotion start? When is the first time you can recall feeling it? And explain the experience. Write it in detail. So this might be, you can go as detailed as you want, but I say at least like a hefty paragraph, right? Hefty paragraph at least. Write it in detail. And then number 2, so next paragraph or next page or next back sheet or whatever, write the experience in another person's perspective that was there. So somebody else that was there in the moment. And if no one else was there, someone that might have seen you, someone that might have seen you passing in the halls, someone that, might not have known what was going on, but was there. And then the 3rd one, so next page, write the experience in 3rd person. So act as if you are like a news reporter. sharing, like writing about this experience. It's not you, it's not someone that was there, it's recalling the event as if it's like a news broadcast. So you'll have 3 stories, however long, however short you need to make them. Just express it. Really allow yourself to write it out. This is how we release it. So if you want to release it, this is what we do. If you don't want to release it, if you want to let it keep you all bunged up inside, that's fine. But if you want to do it, then do it. Number 5, share it. So this is where, I guess 5, 6, and 7, you're going to be doing this with your accountability group. If you're not in an accountability group and you don't have an elite membership yet, that's okay. This is still something that you must do. You still have to fulfill the 7 steps. You still have to go through the process. So share it, whatever that means, whether it's you let somebody read your stories, maybe you send them to someone. Maybe you email them to your friend. Maybe you hand them to your mom and say, hey, I'm doing this exercise and I'd really like you to read this and experience it. Whether it's your accountability partner and you get on there with your accountability partner and you share it. But the elite members, you guys will be meeting and you'll be sharing your experiences. So this is a really important part. It's like a seriously important part of this whole release process is actually communicating what you went through, actually communicating, actually having someone read this or sharing it with them. Number 6 is the ritual release. So our ritual release that we're going to be doing with the elite members, with your accountability group, is the fire release. So we're going to release it with fire all together, burning it. It's powerful. You can do, there's so many different things. I've seen like sending a message out to sea, so like putting the stories out and sending them out into the ocean, or burning them and throwing the ashes off a cliff, or burying it. Whatever you want to do, release it, let it go. Some sort of ritual that you say, you are released, my heart is open. And then number 7, celebrate it and actually be happy that it's gone. Actually, jump around, cut a video, be crazy, be excited, be free, feel the light, feel that openness that you've created in your life. And so if you're part of the elite, you'll be sharing, you'll be releasing, you'll be burning, and you'll be celebrating all together, which would be super fun. Yes, so your accountability groups, if you are an elite member, you're going to be meeting. Let me stop this for a second. You will be meeting within the next, I think, 4 days. But yeah, so get with your leader and schedule that. I'd actually like to just kind of open it up right now, because I know so the thing with a talking circle is that when you hear someone say something, it like triggers something, right? And you want to respond, and you want to offer, your experience and your value and your insight into something that they may have been struggling with, that you feel a connection to. So I do want to open it up to, I feel like sometimes people leave and they're like, oh man, I just wanted to say that one thing. I just wanted to put this out there because it was burning inside of me. So I want to open it up before we all go. And, I don't know why Christy always has this look on her face. Like she's got something really important to say, and it's like creeping up inside her, and she's like, just give me the microphone. Just give me the microphone. So Christy, come on out here.
Oh, okay, Layla. Yes, you read my mind. Like Joanne was saying, being a part of this women's group is just so important to me. I went through an 8-week women's inpatient program to do this exact thing. So it is amazing, because then it's that 8 weeks that you go through all of this and you process so much, but then it's what do you do after the 8 weeks? You leave the inpatient program, and then what? And then the VA wants to put you in these other little programs that you feel like you're just being forced into a puzzle piece,
or passed from stop to stop.
Right. So finding this women's group is just amazing. It feels like a continuation to what I've been through already, but also for those that haven't been through that type of formal type of therapy, this is still just as effective, because we're doing it together, and that we are still being individual, but yet we're still being true to each other at the same time. And that's what makes it so powerful. So thank you for doing this, Layla. Really, thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome. It's like, I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be truly living if I wasn't in some way creating this type of space, this type of room for women and us to grow, and myself included, and, you know, my daughter, and, you know, the women of our generations to come. You know, I just feel it's so vital for us to tackle this stuff and spread the message. So anybody else got any last final parting words? Anything that you just must say before you go? You feel good? Feel good? You ready to do your assignment? Okay. Don't be scared of your assignment. Just let it flow. There are no wrong answers, like I said, and you're just going to burn it anyway. So just know that whatever you write, will be burnt. But I would suggest letting someone read it before you burn it. Like, just have a little moment with someone that, you know, you want to build that bond, you want to build those connections stronger, and be like, hey, I could really use your help. You know, I could really use you to help me move through this negative emotion and this weird workshop thing I'm doing. I always say that. I'm always like, I'm doing this weird women's thing, but I need your help with it. They're always like, yeah, you're always doing some weird thing. I'm like, yeah, I am. All right. What time is it? It's not actually that late, but I'm super pumped. We didn't go quite 2 hours, so that's something. That's something. All right, ladies. Before we go, we gotta get a selfie. Or a screenshot. Let me just get one more, because I didn't get Alicia in my last one. And I love her Christmas tree. Yeah, put that Christmas tree in there. Yeah. Yay! Women power. Okay. Love you.
Thank you.
See you later.